because you have to like drive all the way up there, and then you have to like get it, get back late on Sunday.
Everybody bailed on that again.
Yeah.
I don't want to go out, but everybody did. Every single one that was class bailed, so that's no reason to do that.
The only regular club members that I saw out there was Kelly and myself.
I was asking maybe I should text, email Mark. I said, can I join you?
We finally made it out to say Harbor and whatnot on Sunday, which was still also wet, but got nicer through that day, and that's a little more easier to get back. That was pretty nice, although I got on a route that was it's like one of the classics, this classic 10D auto march that some of the non-private people are like, great, the comments are like, great, wet or dry. It's scary wet. It may be great, but it's also scary.
Man, especially in the 70s.
Oh, really?
First it was lousy.
99.99.
Smith for a day, Portland for like
And I knew it was getting green too, so 90%.
yeah, no, you guys have been hopefully get some classes. Doing the monkey face, which is like a little intimidating. So we'll see.
Oh, so he's coming from the south.
I think so. Although it might be.
So he's coming from the south. Let's get on his range.
Oh,
Small, see, there's the
yeah.
big storm. Oh, look at that.
And
So all the way, everybody gets
we went to Rhinehurst one day, we went to Brazil one day.
Yeah.
I don't think you have a lot of climbing.
Probably not.
Maybe saying the
It's not that far though.
it's been a report.
You can do New York,
North Shore of the
July,
that's like
July
on.
to New York.
Yeah.
What is it? Dex House? Is it Dex House?
Oh,
The Dex, yeah.
That's New York. It's North New York.
New York.
We went to Dick
That sounds fun though. I don't know what
and then we went to there's a little easy stuff.
It's on your time. I don't know.
Practice.
been there for you guys. Not even that.
Like down
Oh, yeah, so January ice climbing.
stuff
We
there.
have to make it to ice climbing.
Yeah.
And another week for new ice climbing.
Just throw a hot rods on it, so it's like
That's Dex House, right.
it's short and
So
it's
that's
not
what
long,
you're
so you're like
I guess Mount
a
Washington.
lot of day potential, but like I almost
You want to go to Mount Washington next year? Because I did. So I'm
I'm sure we would not. Come across the street. Yeah, we could play around.
So, welcome to PATC Maverick Section meeting as of May, with this our first one in Silver Spring. Here and up, and the first day. Like, where's the host? All right, well. Anyway, if Dave comes on in, I'll introduce Dave as the host. business, etc. And I was going to let him give like a little plug for what they do. Now he's not even in the room. So, okay.
Here he comes.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Oh, that's Peter. Okay, Dave, we're starting. You come up here and you can give your plug and your pitch for not to mention tell all these grubby climbers to keep their dirtiness off of your.
No. We're hi everybody. If you don't know me, I'm Dave Jackman. I think I know most of you. Yeah, I mean, this is up. We're the home of healing, wellness, and adventure. I'm not going to go into what we do. I think I'm also the chairman of the American Alpine Club. If you guys don't know that, so we have a lot of love for PATC. I used to be the chairman of PATC at one time, a couple chairmen ago. So we're happy to have you guys here, and hopefully we'll get into your rotation. I guess as you rotate through the year, maybe we can do this quarterly or something. In Maryland. But I don't know much to say. That's it. So, well, if you're in Silver Spring and want to do yoga, look us up.
Party Friday?
Party Friday, yeah, we're having our grand opening party on Friday. If you guys want to come, we'll have DJ, wine, party atmosphere. So that's why I'm not too worried about the shoes because we're going to have 100 plus people in here. So, Florida market gets screwed up. Just a matter of how much and if I can get Emily Cumberland to clean them afterwards. So that's going to be the crux of the operation here. So we're trying. So anyway. He just recorded that, so, anyway, enjoy if you guys need me to turn lights down or not really up, but it's better. You're good, so. Yeah, well, that's coming next week. Right? I have a whole window treatment thing. Some of my to-do list is like this big, and the windows are somewhere in here, so. Anyway.
Okay, let's as usual, we'll do a round room introductions with the question of the day. The question of the day is, how hot is too hot to climb, and then what do you do? So my name is Mark Mayer. I'm the chair of the mountaineering section, and I'm a wuss about the heat. I don't really like to climb in the heat, so it doesn't have to be that hot before it's too hot to climb. And I'll probably go somewhere else.
I'm Siobhan. I'm secretary of PATC. I just moved out here from the desert, so it's not just really a matter of it's too hot to climb. It's when the rock's so small and hard that it turns your fingers raw. It usually happens around the 90s above.
I'm Nicolas. I'm from France. I used to live in Marseille near the sea, so usually when it was really hot, I used to look for shade and go in a place where I could swim, and usually without rope, do some long travels.
I'm Joe, and I don't know, it gets too hot. I go to the gym, you go back and swim, so I can take a little more heat.
Okay.
My name is Mark. I come from Spain, so it's love there. I guess it's love to
When the slime forms, right?
I'm Sean. I just climb here locally, and it's all good.
Let's jump over here, Edwin. So, the question today is, how hot is too hot to climb, and then what do you do?
I just want the shade. I like the heat. I'm okay with it.
Jay.
Okay, well, I actually don't mind it. I mean, I get grumpy of that. I get really grumpy and I hate everything, but I love climbing. So, as long as there's a river or a lake or something that I can jump in, I don't mind climbing. I hate it.
Silva?
I started climbing out here too, so it gets hot, it gets humid, and sort of accepted that. And I don't know, I've climbed at Great Falls, and somebody's shoes sort of like, it gets full sun, so somebody's shoes sort of like melted a little on the wall. I don't know, we rock ice, and it's
about making it how cold is too cold to climb, but I figured when I got to you, the answer would be like when the nitrogen freezes out of here.
So I'm Allie. I try not to complain about the heat because I find prefer it with the cold. I don't care that the rubber is more sticky when it's cold. I find that comfortable. So, but I'm with Jay on finding a place to jump in this river.
Hey,
Peter,
Peter,
I don't know what the question is, so.
it's how hot is too hot to climb, and then what do you do?
I go to the beach.
All right, Chris, did you introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm Chris, and it's 65 degrees.
And Chris is busy acting like the Gearmeister back there because he is the Gearmeister, which is excellent. All right, Carol,
What's the question?
how hot is too hot to climb, and then what do you do?
Well, actually, I don't think my friend too hot. It was pretty hot last summer when we were at Seneca. Yeah, we can climb. I drink water. That's what I do.
Class.
I'm gonna ask, it all depends on how cold the drink I have.
Right. Okay, so tonight's program is from Elliot and Allie, and is about climbing in Patagonia. So they're going to talk about the trip that they made early this year to Patagonia and the variety of climbs they did down there. So over to you guys.
So climbing in Patagonia may be like kind of overstating it a little because we definitely did some climbing. It was a 3-week trip this year from mid-January to the first. It was 3 weeks long to the first week in February, and of that we did 2.5 days of climbing. So, but part of the I think what we thought would be helpful about doing this sort of trip report was describing the difficulties of climbing and being in Patagonia so that like you guys can be better and more efficient than we are when you go to Patagonia.
Who here has been to Patagonia before? There's also one of those in Patagonia, which is super meta.
Anyone know where Patagonia is? Right here. So it's like there's like different definitions whether it starts at the Rio Negro or what. It's like
Do you want me to share? Oh.
yeah. So it's like it's both Chile and Argentina.
So that's the big picture.
So it's like up there to like here and doesn't include Tierra del Fuego. And we were just in. This is the Argentinian Park de los Glaciares, which is like 2 parks. There's like a bunch of glaciers. There's the southern ice cap, which is this huge ice cap, the 3rd biggest ice cap after Antarctica and Greenland, and there's a bunch of glaciers coming off it. And then you can see a bunch of glaciers, which we'll come to, and there's Chaltén, which is where the Fitzroy and Cerro Torre ranges are. And then there's, on the Chile side, there's Torres del Paine, and they're all sort of like, it's kind of a contiguous feature, and that's where we went. So, do you want to talk about Torres del Paine?
Sure. So one other thing about this being sort of this continuous like, park feature, it is, but you can't travel within it. So we kind of like started here and come to Calafate, and then we like traveled down here, and then actually like you have to go down to Fortuna Palace to get into Torres del Paine, and then like you go back up to Calafate, and then you can go back up to Chaltén. So like there's not really a way to travel within it.
So if you go to southern Patagonia through Argentina, you'll go Buenos Aires to Calafate, which was kind of the base of our travels. We went through Buenos Aires and we're more focused on Argentina. If you go through Chile, you'll go through Santiago into, is it Puerto Natales? It's this is like going through Punta Arenas is better for like Tierra del Fuego, seeing penguins, doing more aquatic-based endeavors. Also, often I think it's generally cheaper than through Argentina. So we go to.
Okay, so the first part of our trip was not climbing focused. It was hiking, trekking, I know, right? But so we went to Torres del Paine and we were sort of like, are we gonna how much of our time are we gonna focus on climbing? But we had heard that the W track is very famous, and so we wanted to try doing it. So we the W track is like it makes a W through these valleys in Torres del Paine. A few things I guess I would just say about it. If you're interested in doing it, it's you have to book campsites like way in advance. Like as soon as you're like thinking about doing it, just go on and book the campsites. They're free if you book it right away. If you don't, then like you have to get the pay ones and then you pay for car. But you know, they're sort of like this like famous, like you get up really early in the morning and you go and hike up to see the Torres at sunrise, and there's all these pictures that you see on like the internet.
They're right here.
The Torres, the towers, and there's like people doing like picture and like all that stuff. And this was our picture. We hiked up at starting at like 3 in the morning.
It rained the whole time. Our friend, for some reason, didn't bring he didn't bring, was it on the trip? It wasn't on the trip, but at least on this hike, he didn't have a shell. He just has like a nano puff, and it was just soaked through. So we got here, and it was like really cold, and he was like, I need to go back right now because I'll freeze if I don't keep moving. So we like, got here, looked at the foggy fog. We didn't see the Torres at all. It's not even like they're not captured. We could not see them. So
I would say like one of the highlights though of the hike is that you get to marvel at all of these things that you could climb. You can climb the Torres, and you can also climb the Cuerdos. There's a picture of the Cuerdos.
yeah. You can just do the arrows. There we are, the Cuerdos. And we're told that this black rock is really choppy. So you can just like climb the granite under. But it looks really awesome.
So we spent a lot of time thinking about how we were going to climb those next time.
So like generally there's we'll get to the Chaltén, the Fitzroy area, but like the Torres del Paine Park is Chilean and is much more tightly controlled. You need more permits and stuff. So like we didn't really ever seriously explore climbing in Torres del Paine, but it just seemed to be more of a hassle, requiring more planning. It seems really awesome, also, but relative to Fitzroy and the Torrey range, a little more complicated. So we started in. This is the town we stayed in. It's called El Calafate. The Calafate is this thorny bush. It has these berries. You will hear about El Calafate that if you eat the berries, you are destined to return to Patagonia. Everyone always thinks this is the most clever kind of proverb they've ever heard, and blah, blah, blah. I ate some berries. They're better when you have sugar and alcohol. Free herbies.
What isn't?
True. Go to the next one. And this is the Patagonia shop in Patagonia. These are friends, Devin and Natalia, who traveled with us for the first 2 weeks of the trip. Allie didn't really know them, and we traveled closely with them and stayed in like a small hostel. And our advice based on that is if you have a chance to travel with another couple you don't really know that well, do it. It worked out great. No problems. It's gotta work out. No, that's totally true. At least it totally worked out for us. It was great. It's windy. It's windy throughout Patagonia. This is the tent fly. We're getting ready. This is we stayed in one of the private campsites, and they have these like weird wooden boards you pitch on, and then there's like nails on the side that you kind of like hook the tent like This is the Cuernos at sunrise or sunrise-ish. This is like the other side. In the W, you come around, and like so you get all these great viewpoints. On the other side, there's like glacier and ice fall. These are not the Torres. You can't actually see the Torres from where we were, and we had one day where because we booked late, we had to hike 20 miles one day, so we didn't get to go all the way up the French Valley that is the W part of the W. And we have some, people want to pass them around, we have some like maps of Torres del Paine and the Parque de los Glaciares and the Patagonia guidebook and an Argentina guidebook, and come to these books.
Elliot was like obsessed with the Cuernos. Like he couldn't stop looking at them and taking pictures and trying to figure out if he was going to climb them and when.
There's this like, I just kept looking, there's this crack here that just runs continuously up. I had no idea. I'm so curious like how big or wide it is, and anyway, they're really cool.
And there's a guide shop in Puerto Natales and like a climbing shop that is probably your starting point if you wanted to climb Torres del Paine.
These are can't quite read it, but these are like ropes used to climb like one of the first ascents or maybe the first ascent of Torres Central. They're at like the visitor center in Torres del Paine. So we had a brief interregnum with in Calafate, but then we went to Chaltén, which is the city that was like built as like kind of a land claim against Chile. That's like right outside the gates of Fitzroy. Chaltén is the like indigenous name for Fitzroy, so it's the name of the town and also the name of the mountain. There are a bunch of these wooden sculptures that like show you that Chaltén is kind of a climber trekker town. Like it's actually more trekkers. Like you get the sense that the town is more dominated by like young people kind of on backpacking trips than you do that it's like then it's all climbers. You kind of, I think, like at least for me, I don't know about you all, I had this impression that like everyone that's there would be like a climber, but actually it's really full of hiker, trekker, backpackers.
And I think that's something that has probably changed over time. You kind of get the impression that originally it was just this town that was just sort of climbers only who are like just had the bare amenities, and over time as it's gotten more built up, it's become more kind of a backpacker town. Although this guy, I don't know if you can see it, but he's got like a trad rack.
Yeah, they're like chops and yeah. More climber art. There's like some kind of fun art around. This is the hostel we stayed in for a while. This part is built. This part's less built. The first night we stayed there, they like lost our reservation and we stayed in the game room. It was like here. I don't recommend this place specifically, but it was the cheapest.
And this is like what all of, like, Chaltén is like half built. It's like constantly in a state of being built. So there's all these buildings that are like, somebody started building them. They were like, okay, the first floor's done. We can start like renting these rooms out while we're still working on the second floor. So like people are just like going after it.
And it's a little bit like Boulder in that it's kind of constrained. There's rivers on like two sides in the park, so it's like they can't just keep building out indefinitely. So there are some issues. Like apparently one of the former presidents has some corruption scandal where they own a lot of property, and then like now it's like in litigation, so they can't build. Lots of fun. This place is awesome. This is Chocolateria Oshtaike, which is like one of the first buildings there, and it's like definitely the like climber's den.
We have like a box of Alpinist magazine.
That's the next picture. There it is.
See? Like I said.
So you can just hang out there. See? Just hang out. As the little girl's doing. There's like a cool area up here that's sort of and they make good coffee and pizzas and chocolate.
I guess that's what you do when it's too hot to climb in Patagonia.
This was so if you can see this says for sale, BD number 6, brand new, road 70 meters, the van. So like the first day we got there was like good weather, and when they truck you, when you come in on a bus, they drop you off by the park ranger station, and the park ranger like gives you a spiel, and we had really good weather the day we came in, and the park ranger was like, just get the fuck out there and go see the Torrey range, because like the weather is like often bad and you can't see them. This is Sarah Torrey Ager, and Sarah Stanhart, and like they're often in clouds. Particularly Sarah Torrey is often like some part in clouds, because just on the other side is the like southern ice field, and just like crazy winds are coming off them, so they're just like shrouded in cloud all the time.
Is this a different angle than what you guys were trying for with the rained out picture?
So this is a different park. So
Okay.
this
Totally
those
different.
are Torrey Pine, and this is like the northern part of the map that we're pointing to, which is Sarah Torrey Range, and then just to the right here, you'll see pictures in a minute, I guess, is the Fitzroy Range. So they're kind of like these two parallel ranges.
Okay.
But yeah, they're different areas.
Sure, rented the car, did you move around, or did you?
We relied on public transportation the whole time. Yeah, so we just did buses and just buses, I think.
Which was not always super efficient, but was good enough. And the buses are pretty good. There's like a number of bus companies, they're fine. Most of these bus trips would be, I think the longest we took was like 5 hours
Yeah.
to get between the sort of, you would go like point to point. I think it was like Puerto Natales to Calafate was 5 hours, Calafate to Chelten was 3 hours.
So you guys were flying from the north and then go to the south and then
Right.
back.
So what we did was like the broad outline is we came in and then went all the way south and just did the Torrey del Paine and did that as like a tight week, and then we're more focused in Calafate and Chelten in Argentina, because the thing is, so unlike the Torrey del Paine park where you need permits, you need reservations in advance, you need everything to be set up, with Chelten there's camping that's just free. You just walk out there, and most of the trails are not a circuit there. You just kind of do these hikes that are like out and back. So you go out to the campsite, camp, do the trail, come back. They sort of crisscross. You can make it a larger kind of circuit if you want, but it's more just loosey-goosey.
And like one other thing that like to frame sort of why we scheduled things the way we did is that we knew we wanted to try to do like one mountaineering objective, but you know the weather's super unpredictable there, so we knew we would need to like leave a window. So we did the Torres del Paine hike at the very beginning, and then we basically just went to Chelten with no itinerary after that. So I think we had like 2 weeks almost in Chelten, and figured, we hoped that we would find a window long enough to do something, and we knew that, you know, in the absence of that, there was lots of hiking and like sport climbing right in the town. So that was kind of why we structured it the way we did.
Did you book the transit last minute too, or was that?
Yeah, like I think like, you know, our first couple buses we maybe booked in advance like a week, but I think like things might book up the same day, but for the most part the buses you can book pretty close to the time that you're going to travel.
And we were there in high season, so I think like there's a few buses, there's a few times, so that wasn't too hard. And yeah.
What else we have? I don't even remember.
Oh yeah, so we did a little bouldering in view of Sarah Torrey.
Elliot said we only climbed a few days, but actually there was a lot of bouldering on our hikes.
So this is the Fitzroy Massif. This is from the top of, this is the main viewpoint that like the trekkers will get. This is Pliate Tumbado, which is like a fairly steep hike up this like loose rock, and you get these nice views. this is the traditional Ceratoran view, where you can see that you can see much of the range, but you can't see all of Ceratoria in particular.
And like this is like the last two pictures you just saw, like this was where Elliot was standing in the PATC shirt, and like that boulder was like down over here.
And the Argentinians are still pretty into the Falklands and Malvinas. At least some of them. So yeah, and there's a ton of glaciers around, which we'll sort of come back to at the end, but this is like a glacier coming down. And you have to, I think that one of the main approaches to Ceratoria, you cross this glacier. Which apparently some people were saying has gotten harder as the glaciers have receded, because like what's left behind is just totally crap that's like even harder to cross. So one thing we did while we waited, in the town there are a bunch of vaulted sport climbs, there's some trad climbs, and we did a couple days of climbing on the rock around town. The rock around town is totally different as far as I could tell, we could tell. Like it's this like textured rock, it's like, would be really great by DC area standards, but like is not like destination climbing, but it is like pretty fun.
Well, what I thought was like amazing about it is this is like a 5-minute walk from like wherever you are in town. So like I mean, you can kind of see, I don't know if we have another picture, but like this is the town, and like you just walk out your door and you're like climbing these like great, I mean, you know, they're single pitch, mostly, no, there's some
There's
multi-pitch,
also actually some multi-pitch, yeah,
and
sport
like,
and
but
trad.
like, you know, you could like pretend that Fitzroy wasn't there if you wanted to do that, and like have a great climbing vacation, right? But Fitzroy's there.
And you still get we did like one of the days we climbed, we got like what eventually shut it down was just like this crazy wind coming in, and we were just like buffeted by it. So you still are getting like a smaller dose of like the strong and variable Patagonian weather. It's our friend Devin climbing one of the harder sport routes. This is all this one boulder, all like more or less the same route. It's alley. And this is a shot of the whole face, one of them. There's like a bunch of like bouldering out here, and apparently the bouldering's really good, which we didn't really do. It seemed really good, often seems to be really hard. And this is like a really short sport route that just was pretty cool looking. It's like just this big boulder that's been like bolted a little. And this is a bouldering area where I stubbed my toe badly.
Injuries.
Yeah, the major injury. Okay, so the mountaineering. So we were woefully unprepared. We tried to do some research on Rollo Garibaldi's website, PATC, which is a wealth of information, and I highly recommend. And we emailed the webmaster of it when we had other questions, which is Rollo, and he was super, super helpful. So I think one of my big tips on planning your Patagonian adventure is email/bother Rollo, who's he and his wife's guidebook we have, and is like the thing. It's like so good. So he gave us a lot of guidance, including like questions like, have you climbed anything decent in the US? Snake Dyke, the Exum Ridge, East Ridge of Mount Whitney, anything? No? But he eventually connected us with this guy, Thomas Aguilo, who's like an Argentinian pro climber and guide who was willing to take us up the Ami Couloir route of Guillemette, which is like the easiest route on the smallest mountain on the Fitzroy Range. Which this is what we're on the approach to. So can I see that book for a minute? So one of the things to note is that like all the approaches are heinous and glaciated, basically. Like everything is like really far and really hard. And like so Roland told us that we could the good objectives, which I've written down so you can look at, are Mohan Rojo, Cerro Electrico, and Cerro Solo. And he was like, you could maybe do those on your own. And what we figured out looking at them is, no, we could not, because while they're like fairly easy, they all require the ability to glacier travel skills and therefore glacier rescue skills. So I think the big takeaway about like the mountains in Patagonia is you need to be comfortable in glaciated terrain because you're going to encounter it. There's just so many glaciers all over that like the gulf between sport climbing on the town walls and even the most minor objective in Patagonia is just massive. Also, there's not good gear shop rentals. There's like they mostly have like more kind of trekking stuff. They had like POAs for rent and pretty basic mountaineering boots, but they didn't have ice tools. So we ended up renting tools from our guide, which was fine. But like, also we tried to get, we had like a full day to prepare before we attempted our route, and we could only find like candy and stuff like that. Like if you want like performance kind of snacks and things, you should bring them. And like in more specialized gear, you should bring that. You should expect pretty basic stuff available in Shell 10.
I was really surprised about both of those things. I thought for sure in this like town that is like the base for like all this mountaineering, like world class, like surely there's like a gear shop where we could like rent stuff or buy things that we forgot. There's like really not. And I also kind of, like to think of myself as like pretty flexible, like can eat whatever. And like really there's not a lot in the way of good snacks. And like one of the things that I learned from Alpine Skills Weekend, thank you PATC, was like have food that you want to eat. And I thought like surely I'll find like something. And there was like really not a lot of good options. At one point Tommy gave me like a honey stinger waffle like halfway up, and I was like, this is the best thing I've ever eaten. Where did you get it? I was like, how did you find this? He was like, oh, one of my like American clients brought it down for me.
So I'll pass around this book, which has, I've highlighted both the approach, which we'll talk about, to the climb and the route itself, and also I flagged the page risk management, where he says, ask yourself these questions, which at first start out as like helpful questions and become like, you're probably not actually qualified to climb in Patagonia. For example, do you know how to confirm if someone is dead? That's like a good one. We're going to take a look at that. So this is us on the approach. There's like a 5-hour approach to the So there's like hikers campgrounds that I mentioned earlier that are easy. You just pitch a tent, and that's, as I understand from reading in Greg Crouch's book, about the old Patagonia, that's where the climbers like used to hang out back in the day before we had like advanced satellite weather forecasting. Now they hang out in town and then go to these forward camps. So we're on our way to one of these forward camps. This is called Piedra Negra, which is like just a stone field with no amenities. Here it is, out of our tent. That's actually, we built up a stone barrier because there's just like a lot of wind. And actually our guy's tent, we did one of those like ultralight BD limelights, it just tore when he like rigged something together. He seemed totally nonplussed by it. This is Guillemette. This is what we climbed. This is Ramos, which is like way bigger, though it doesn't look that much bigger. This is Piedra Negra with someone on it. This is Castillo Negro, which is just some total choss pile. There's most of this dark rock is like choss piles. So there's like a mix of different rock types. So it's like golden granite. That's like the really high quality stuff that people are looking to climb. So you want to narrate this part? The morning of?
Sure, so we got up at 1 a.m. We left at camp at close to 2. And then we hiked up for about 3 hours. And this is when we got to like the first call. You kind of come up, like, you sort of like, you're like going up this basically, and kind of come over this call here. And so this was like just as the sun was peeking over. It was pretty amazing.
So we didn't have we put on crampons at this point and we roped up.
So when you get to the first call, like the first thing, like we roped up, you cross this kind of snow field that's like covering a glacier, and then you get it sort of like gradually gets more and more vertical, and eventually you're kind of going from like walking to climbing. And the first thing that you have to climb over is the Bergstrand, and I found it extremely challenging. So it was like pretty challenging ice to climb. Plus you've got like these giant like holes in front of you. Plus a lot of it is like also snow. So it's where like the glacier has separated from the mountain, and so you're kind of trying to like it's getting vertical in front of you. You're trying to go up, but like you have nothing to like kick into because there's like a big like
Right, your ice holes kind of
cavern in
cut
front of
through.
you. And you know, maybe you can grab some snow, maybe you can't, maybe you get some ice. And at that point, like there were, like everyone's trying to climb the easiest route on the easiest mountain, right? So there were like 5 other teams whose ropes were all like in front of you, behind you, like, and you're trying to navigate that. So I found that all very challenging.
And there was a brief weather window. We were really lucky. That's the other thing. Like, so back when I said we were on the viewpoint on Playake Tumbata, we talked to 2 American climbers who'd been there for 2 weeks, and they hadn't been able to get on any of the major objectives because the weather had been so bad. So we were lucky to have this like 24-hour window. So like one of the takeaways also is if you want to climb one of these Patagonian summits, you need to budget like more than 2 weeks to be in Chaltén, because even with advanced weather forecasting, the weather may not be good for 2 weeks. That's like very possible. So from the Bergstrand, which is like the route description notes that may be the hardest part, and probably was like technically the hardest part for us. You go up this like up to 65 degree couloir, this is more towards the end when it kind of narrowed up, and it's like hard snow is kind of the texture that we encountered on our trip. Here we are having maximum fun. More fun.
View. That's the like glacier down below.
This is actually more from the beginning. This is like we sort of hit sunrise, and this is like the Bergstrand's like right there, and then we did like a traverse over to get into the particular couloir we wanted to go up.
This was a really awesome moment that I didn't appreciate because I was already like so exhausted.
It was captured though.
Yes.
Oh, I guess it was.
Yeah, here's Allie not appreciating it. This was the first pitch coming up. You can see like that later picture, it's just narrower. It's like starts out quite wide. There was another guy, Pipa was his nickname, and he was taking up another American. He's also like Tomi's guide company is him, Pipa is one other guy, and they just happen to be doing the same thing, which worked out well because they could kind of work together. And there's like 2 separate kind of like rappel stations on either side, so they were like kind of staggering their belays. This is coming out of the couloir onto the second call, which kind of has this like interesting sort of tricky move that like is trickier when you have ice tools and crampons and stuff.
And that's kind of like the point where you transition from ice to rock also. Ice.
So I think this is the Marconi range. I think that's what we figured out. but I could be wrong. This is like the other side, and this is sort of traversing along. And now we got to the summit. So there were like 4 pitches of rock. Mostly were pretty easy, but we're wearing. We brought our rock shoes, but we never wore them. We wore mountaineering boots the whole time. We wore gloves most of the time. I would take off my gloves sometimes for like quick, short parts that were a little more difficult. But like the wind was just going the whole time. It was probably around freezing at warmest, you know.
What time would you say it was in this picture? Like
2
in the afternoon
2
or
in the
something?
afternoon, I think, yeah.
So like, I mean, one thing that I found, like we'll say about this, is that for me, this was at the limits of like any physical endeavor I've ever done. And I think Mount Washington was like, just before that, it was great prep. I mean, just before that in terms of like level of challenge to me personally. And so I took a lot of lessons from that, and you know, going into this, I thought, surely I can do this. Tomi was like, it's all leg, it's fine, it's like 65-degree ice, whatever. It was really challenging, and like one like piece of evidence that I point to for that is like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm still wearing my headlamp kind of like askew, because I haven't even like thought about taking it off my helmet.
So it's sort of hard to see, but this is actually 2 summits. This is Mermoz here, and then this is Fitzroy, or Chiltern. Quonset over there. I think we have another picture which has it. This is Cerro Torre, and this is Torre and a little bit of Scanhart. So we had like a really nice summit weather. We got to see the whole thing. Oh, I should say also, so it was like 4 or 5 pitches. It says in the book specifically of rock with like at most there's like 1 pitch that's like 5.9-ish, and then most of them much easier. And then the last bit, Tony short roped us up like he'd done on the glacier to go up like a 30-degree snowfield to the summit. So yeah, so you can see a little more here. This is Quonset. You know, like in the Patagonia logo, there's like one other kind of big but small peak. That's Quonset. This is Alec coming with the last rock pitch. This is another range, another of the like lesser ranges that you don't see as much because, and this is the southern ice field back here. It's just like ice forever.
Can we get a time check? How are we at that?
8 o'clock.
This is another picture. I think this is Marconi range. I thought this was really awesome. When we came over the second col and just like saw this, like all of these ranges, saw the ice field, that was like, for me, this like amazing part where you had this view like you have from an airplane passing over a range, but you climb, you know?
This is a Bergstrand. This is Elliot wrapping down the Bergstrand. But we also climbed up it. So like these are all, this is just like holes. I also had trouble, when I wrapped down it, I wrapped like into like one of these holes. Elliot was much better.
Well, I got to see you wrap it to the hole. I was like, I'm not gonna do that. Another team, there's like on this face, there are a bunch of ice couloirs. There's like another one that's like 70 degrees, so it's like a little harder, but that was like our guy's backup plan. It was like, it's about to say we can do that. And I think we actually rappelled down that, which was a little more direct. And the rappels are like super sketchy. There was like, there were like these like little rat's nest kind of rappels and we would like wrap on like a single wire gate carabiner with the wire, where the wire gate's like kind of flappy. Yeah, this is great.
And it's around like 10 different pieces of old webbing, and you have one of them. These are kittens.
People love kittens. So on the way back, the approach is like about 5 hours, and it's like going there. It's like 2 hours along the river till you get to a caretaker station here, and then 3 hours up through like scrub, just like going up this steep hill. So on the way back, we stopped, got snacks. Allie gave her coat to the caretaker, and we didn't get a kitten. We got really good pie, really good apple pie. Highly recommend.
This was not a climbing day.
At the end, we had some days to kill, and we did. It's like super expensive, but you can do go out like kayaking around icebergs around which glacier? The Uppsala?
Yeah.
Like it's not, Uppsala Glacier is like way in the back, but it calves off all these icebergs, and we actually had like a huge iceberg like flip over behind us and like jostle our boats, and like the guys were like, paddle faster. You want to talk about this one?
And then on the last day you can like go walk around on a glacier as part of a tour. This is the Perito Moreno Glacier, which is like one of the most famous glaciers, and so they give you these super old crampons to put on, and they make you wear a harness for rescue purposes, but you're not rubbed off or anything.
They're like 6-point, like really heavy old crampons that just do like they web on, use webbing.
But it looks cool.
Perito Moreno Glacier is always advancing, like unlike other glaciers, and it's always, it actually is advancing into this like peninsula, and then it blocks the two halves of this lake, and then the lake will like erode a arch under it, and then it'll periodically collapse, which is really cool looking. Most people don't see it because it like happens like every 5 years or something, but it's constantly capping off anyway, so you can actually like really see a lot of cool like glacial action up close. And that's like just like an hour outside of Calafate.
That's it.
I think that's it.
Last
Yeah.
picture.
Questions?
Questions?
How heavy is your bag?
I don't weigh it. I don't really know.
So how much do you pack for this trip? Because
I pack pretty like I pack very few like extra clothing, like just enough like one set of layers and a few backups. We had our tent and sleeping like camping gear. We had we brought a rope and climbing gear also, right? But we each brought our backpacks plus like a big wheelie duffel, so we could like pick what we needed for any particular thing, or like leave the rest at a hostel. So it wasn't like we were like carrying all of that in our backpack. It was
stickings and ropes and stuff.
Right, so we like mostly, so we brought like, we had stuff we left at the hostel when we went out and did the Guillemette day, and then we like left most of our stuff at the campsite and brought like mostly empty bags of just like food and water, which most of which we still didn't really even use because we were just going the whole time. That was the other thing that was like very, we were going, like our day started, woke up at 1 a.m., left at 2 a.m., got back to camp at 6 p.m., was like laying down at 7 p.m. And it was like pretty continuous. There was some eating at the beginning, that hour at the beginning and that hour at the end, but otherwise there was not much eating or drinking in the middle, which was why one of my takeaways for the future for similar things is to get better snacks, because like most of your life you don't actually need performance snacks. An apple, a Snickers bar, whatever will work fine, but like this was like the rare time where I was like, I really want shot blocks or whatever, like really concentrated food, energy, whatever.
How much English versus Spanish did you use on this trip?
It was a mix of both. I think you could get by without speaking Spanish, but it really helps, I would say.
And Tommy was great and he spoke good English. But yeah, definitely our group of 4 and 2 at various points leaned heavily on Allie's Spanish skills.
Which are not fluent.
Anything else? Yes?
What was the elevation of the summit you got to compared to the highest one there?
The book would say better 2,300 meters, something like that. And I don't know how tall Fitzroy is. Fitzroy is definitely the highest. It's got a couple hundred meters on Serratore. Serratore comes close, but
I don't think we're talking real high altitude.
no, it's definitely
I was trying to think of like the comparison, like how high compared, like what percentage of Fitzroy is it?
It's like less than half, I think.
Well, half.
I think less than half. Fitzroy is so much bigger. Like, and Fitzroy really towers over just all the other mountains in the range.
It was interesting though, because like altitude is not an issue here, right? Like, even though you've got these like crazy mountains.
So what did you do to train before you do this trip?
I did a lot of climbing the stair thingy at the gym with the backpack on. Tried to go climbing a lot. Like, it wasn't a hardcore training program.
So did you?
I was like, I have to train for Patagonia. What should I do? I just like it.
Yeah, I definitely think, like, I think people on the listserv have done this, and we didn't do this, but I would do, like, these kind of big, long, uphill days with, like, a lot of weight to train. I think would be a good idea, which we didn't do.
Well, that's not over. I got probably work.
You do Robertson, it's less busy.
Yeah.
We're both.
Do both.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Great.
All right, thank you guys. All right, I think I'm informed that we're not eating until the meeting is done, so like I got a fire lit under my butt here. But
Let's continue on so we can finish this up early and go get food.
You just stop.
okay, so thank you all very much. First time I've seen a list that says, can you recognize and your partner is dead? It's really funny thought. Actually, I like the other one that was just above it, which was, can you place your injured partner on your back and do multiple rappels? Have you practiced this sufficiently to do it quickly? I was thinking, maybe we gotta schedule that one for a session out at Great Falls. We'll all get out and do, and go. Carefully, yeah. That'd be interesting. Okay, let's see. So let's go through the usual biz and get to upcoming events. Jay, Treasury Report.
So for the month of May, we have $16,858 in our bank. And so we sold 4 flats, so we have 4 more we can sell. And then we're keeping 2 for ourselves, right?
At least 2.
Okay.
Maybe 3.
We have fishing the water right now.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's the one I found with heavy loss before. So we actually have 11 flags.
Oh, wow. Okay. So we did find one anyway.
We did find
Okay.
Man, you are the game master stuff.
I'll set a standard and it can always be improved upon. Let's be sure they're marked.
Yeah, I wrote like PATC flag 1, 2, and 3 on that.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Member, Secretary.
We've got 391 total and 14 new in the last 30 days.
Great. Okay, thank you. Let's see, past activities. We did Carter Rock first Wednesday, which I am told went well. Who was there? Okay, oh, great. People came. So I was going to say, I know Jenny was there and the stewards were there. So by and large, Sylvan, everything looking good.
I mean, it seemed good. I arrived 2 hours late, so.
All right. Anybody arrive on time?
That was a great newspaper stand stuff after the sign your waivers here, stack of waivers and pens.
All right.
So we got about 15 waivers.
Okay. So we'll be doing this again, just for everybody's knowledge. We will do this on the first Wednesday of each month for the remainder of the Carter Rock season. And we will experiment and see how well this works. The meetups have been adjusted so that they only show the first Rock sessions, but we're only going to advertise those to members as opposed to the more general audience advertising. Let's see. New Followers Weekend has been canceled twice now.
Yeah. Yeah, so rain, Mother Nature really hates New Follower Weekend. So it rained badly the first weekend, so we rescheduled, took a poll, had a new weekend for this weekend, and the
so I quit. No, so I sent an email to everyone saying, look, we're not going to go for round 3. Talk to your leader, talk to your follower, figure out a date that works for you guys, and just go ahead and do it. I actually had mine 2 weekends ago, went really well, so fingers crossed it'll go well for everyone else. And maybe next year we'll actually have a group/communal event, but this year I'm done. It's too bad. It's not that great weather the weekends. No. Cinco de Mayo weekend was last weekend.
I heard it rained.
It did. Kelly and I went. We were the only ones. That the campsite D is very lonely when you're the only one. It's pretty stretched out. You can spread out, and you got the entire thing to yourself. And incidentally, when we reserve, I prefer to take E instead of D.
Well, everybody likes D.
Really?
Now you
I
like
completely like E better because they won't get the people driving through.
Oh, it's further back.
Okay.
And the camp host doesn't. They seem to not like to go to E. They stay out of it. So I just prefer. Personally, I prefer E, but I don't know why.
It's
D
been
is.
all this time everybody say D, so
Okay.
Because the bathrooms are closer.
okay, E.
But the lights stay on, they're going to keep their big lights on.
Yeah, that's why if you're
That's
on
what
E, you're
we-
not one down. Yeah.
Who cares about
So anyway, by the way, Cinco de Mayo weekend wasn't as bad as the weather prediction made it out. Friday afternoon was gorgeous. Kevin and I climbed all Friday afternoon, and the sun was actually hot. Although it had rained, and it was actually, there was a full seepage, but everything was was actually dry. And the cracks were kind of nasty, but the faces were dry. Saturday morning was no good. Saturday afternoon was okay. It was kind of damp, but we climbed anyway. Saturday night, where they had the party, was there was a surplus of booze and food. So it was all right. And Sunday was if you stayed late enough, it was pretty good. It was bad in the morning, but apparently it got pretty good later. I see our expeditioneers are back. You guys want to tell us about the tale? Say a few words. Which
Flight out, well, glacier flight, we got on last Saturday. There were, I think, 4 other guided parties up there, as well as 2 other independent groups, so it was quite crowded up there, and there's really only a couple of technical routes, a couple of ski routes you can kind of do, so we were a little dismayed at the number of people up there, given the number of routes. Conditions were pretty bad, it was snowing quite a bit, so everybody in camp was hanging around, twiddling their thumbs, sort of waiting for conditions to improve. We got out the first day and skied out on Minor Summer on Lower, check that out, really nice, good views. And then next day, I guess we gave it a shot, we got on the Moose's Tooth ham and eggs route. We got 2 technical pitches, I guess, 2 kind of rock pitches, a couple of snow fields, and the reason people weren't climbing on was like consolidated, sugary, kind of crushed layer on top. So we came back down, and everybody came over and asked us what we thought of it, and we told them to, by the time we left, everybody else was ready to come down as well. I don't think anybody's climbed since we left. I checked the range of dispatches, and pretty much everybody's gotten off of the root canal, and nobody's climbed it. So, we only had a week, and the conditions just weren't there. So it was unfortunate.
That's the last
one. The views were fantastic. Skiing was nice. We took the rest of the time down to Anchorage, did some little bit of minor climbing, travel on the exit glacier, tried a couple of snow blowers. Again, snow early in the season down lower, so it wasn't consolidated. It was snowy, unprotectable. Lots of wind slab avalanches. And up on the route, there had been some big cabins going on, an earthquake. I guess the week before we were there, and huge debris that was all the way down to the landing strip. So quite a bit of cabin activity. So lots to see. Views are great, but not very fun.
But did you have fun?
Yeah, it was a fun trip. It was kind of bittersweet. You spend a lot of time planning, and, planning the gear, rack up and get up there, and it's, you can't do it.
Okay, thank you guys. Let's see, XCOM met, and there wasn't really anything significant to report. We're going to just integrate that with the regular precedence discussion. Bill's not here tonight. Is Bill here tonight?
No.
Okay, fine. I'll walk down. So upcoming events. As I said, we have an attempted reprise of New Follower Weekend this weekend, and it's probably another washout. Is anybody here from the Trail Work Weekend following?
You mean
Yeah.
Coming up.
for the,
It's the May Trail Work Weekend. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
This is the Carter Rock one, right?
no, I'm talking
This is
about,
Seneca?
this is the Seneca Trail Work Weekend. So this is going to be the training session.
Yeah,
for-
we do some basic trail leadership stuff.
Okay.
So the focus will be more on the education than the actual work. So you're right. We've got the Discovery Center
Okay.
access. So
Mhm.
yeah, even if it rains, we'll probably go ahead and do it anyway.
Okay, so that weekend is going to be devoted mostly to learning about
Yes.
trail work.
Focus on
And
education.
as those of you who've been to Seneca know that there has been extensive trail work at Seneca, and some of it rather technical, and this will be an opportunity to learn how to do some of it.
Yeah, one of our common problems with the Seneca work is we want more leaders.
Yeah.
So that's always a challenge. We get plenty of people volunteering, but there's a management issue.
Yeah.
So we're hoping this will help us in the long term address those.
Okay. Memorial Day, we have two parallel trips to the Gunks. We have a regular club trip and a Girls in the Gunks trip. Jade, campsites are,
Campsites are all set up.
okay, and how are we doing as far as signups?
Please sign up. Please. On the website, on the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I think we still have open space. I don't think we've filled up the campsites yet. So we've also discussed that Girls in the Gunks trip need some leaders. So anybody who wants to lead, that would be helpful.
and by lead you mean lead climb.
Yes, I mean lead climb, yes.
By example.
Okay, Edwin, is June the 3rd going to be a Carter Rock Work Day?
Yeah, so I was mentioning the access stuff, but yeah, our annual Adopt a Crag on June 3rd
Okay.
is taking place.
Will there be any reconstruction work, or is it going to be the usual mulch?
So we have not received the permits we need to do the actual work for the retaining wall, at least not for the long term. So we are meeting with the park later this week, actually, to discuss some stopgap efforts, measurements, until that happens, because we're just getting a little nervous, essentially.
Right.
So we're meeting with them later this week. I'll have an update.
Okay.
The event page will have that. So I can press against send a message to the listener as well.
So there may be some
There may be
limited
some-
stopgap rebuilding work happening at this.
On that day, yeah. So the problem is we got to get approval from their resource officer, I think is what she's called. So it's a whole ordeal. Nothing ever happens fast with this kind of stuff, unfortunately.
Isn't there a Carter Rock Work Day scheduled for that same week?
Yeah, so the event will take place regardless. Every year we do basically what I call mulch festing. We just
Yeah.
mulch the crap out of Carter Rock, the top and the bottom, the tarp, the dumping, all that good stuff. But we always get more volunteers than we can handle for Carter Rock, so we said, let's try and put it to good use. Exactly. So what we're trying to do is get permission to do essentially some kind of riprap wall. So moving a lot of stone from the parking lot to the base, which would be super fun.
Sounds so fun.
Yeah, super fun.
Exhilarating.
Yeah.
Seriously super fun.
So that ideally we'd like to get at least that approved, and then we may or may not actually do the actual using of the stone. It might just be a staging project, and then either that event or later on in the year we'll do some kind of stopgap work with that.
So if you might just explain, so I'll just summarize. So
Sure.
did you know the area that has been in the downstream section of Carter Rock that was damaged by the trees coming down and starting to rip up the retaining area?
Yeah.
The plan is there will at some point be a substantial work effort to repair that.
Mhm.
However, that has been delayed by the process of getting permits to actually conduct the work.
Basically, yeah.
And so we're hoping in June that we'll do some level of minimal stopgap work to
Yeah.
keep things from getting worse. And presumably this fall, the permits will finally be done. We hope, yes.
Yeah, we're really trying to avoid a second permit with the Army Corps of Engineers because we could die before that gets done.
Right.
So yeah, that's basically the short version.
So anyway, that's the story here, but plan the first weekend in June is
Yep.
intended to be this.
Yep.
New Leader Day is scheduled for June the 10th at Sugarloaf. I put it up last night, and it is now sold out by a factor of 2 within like 3 hours. So I'm going to talk to people about trying to open up more space for it because I'm kind of shocked by how many signups we got, how fast. So we will see. I'm just not sure if we have enough people to manage a larger group. So we'll see what we can do. 4th of July, we have campsites at DAX now.
Yes.
Okay.
Strippers.
Draper's Acres.
Strippers Acres, yes.
We have strippers. That's my kind of.
Draper's Acres.
Strippers Acres is great.
Yes. So for those of you who went last year, we have campsites at the same location that we had last year. So DAX for 4th of July weekend was pretty awesome last year. I hope people go again. Excuse me?
Is that a trad climbing or sport
It
climbing?
is mostly trad. I think there are sport routes there, but if there aren't, they're not a lot. It's certainly a lot of trad routes there. It's a lot of trad routes. There is some top roping available if you really want to, but it's mostly trad routes. And there's a lot of opportunities for long routes and real walk-in routes. Monthly meetings. June will be back in PATC headquarters, and we have a talk from Eric about climbing in Austria. July will be ET Rockville First Friday. August will probably be the same. September is tentatively going to be an event at Earth Trek's Crystal City. Yeah, I know a lot of people want to do that. So tentatively September. We're actually trying to set up something joint with the AAC chapter. It's kind of in flux at this point, but we're looking at it.
Any reason we're not going back to Sport Rock anytime soon?
It just hasn't been a time slot for it yet.
Okay.
We wanted to do June back in Vienna. The Rockville guys specifically said they wanted to do July and August. There's an opportunity to do this thing with AAC, and we haven't been to ETCC yet. I was thinking we might go back to Sport Rock in October.
Okay.
So we'll see. Let's see. So Edwin, any other access updates?
Yeah, so we had just real quick, we had our first adopted crag at Catoctin and Cunningham in April after, successfully opening the bouldering back up in Catoctin. It was a great event. We had over 50 people show up. It was kind of nuts. The park was super, super happy with our work, so we're thinking that's going to be a really good, strong relationship we're building. Mother Nature not only hates new followers, but also hates adopted crags. So we had to cancel our first old rag adopted crag, or was going to be our first old rag adopted crag last weekend due to actual flooding on the road. It was not a minor, it wasn't like, oh no, it's wet. No, it was flooding, it was insane. So we had to cancel that or postpone it, I guess. We're trying to set a new date, but and
what
we also,
is the plan for Old Rag Adopt a Crag? That
So this
sounds difficult.
Yeah. It was going to be a pretty low-key event, honestly. We were going to do primarily social trail brushing and trash pickup on the main trail up Old Rag. So basically,
Not the climbers' trails. The main
not
trail.
the climbers trails. No, honestly,
Oh.
I haven't really seen any trail that climbers trail that really needs it, honestly. But
Okay.
if you disagree, we can always talk about that. But yeah, this was just going to be a very casual event, rebuilding or re-strengthening our relationship with Shenandoah, as well as just showing some climbers
Okay.
around, because Old Rag's just not a very popular route.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember who told me this, but someone recommended me once, like, if you're going to climb an Old Rag, go with someone who's been there before.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're going to get lost.
Right.
So anyway, that was canceled or postponed. We're going to reschedule it hopefully soon. Yeah, we've got our annual Adopt a Crag at Carter Rock, June 3rd.
I
Like I
was
said.
just thinking of the usual people who show up for Adopt a Crag, and I thought of putting them out on the climbers' trails to clean up the climbers' areas at Old Rag was kind of terrifying because I would
Yeah,
guess
yeah,
the
we're-
southern 10% would never be seen again.
We have an awesome record so far of no one dying at our events.
Yeah.
I'd really love to keep that going. So no, yeah, it's relocate. But anyway, we'll post it when it gets rescheduled, and that's about it. We're also looking ahead to the fall season, so if you have any thoughts on needs, focuses, I always have a hard as hell time finding work to do at Great Falls, honestly, because I haven't been there in a while. So if you have thoughts on that specifically, let me know.
Last time we did one was basically trash pickup.
Trash
We got
pickup?
a lot, but I mean,
Really?
there was huge amounts we picked up last time I was there.
Last year?
Well, it was last time I went to it was 2 or 3 years ago, and the volume.
Because they went to a
was
trash
quite
free
impressive.
park, at Great Falls,
Yeah.
and that would be really awful if there's just
Well-
trash everywhere now.
Oh, I don't know, I'm just saying, there was
Okay.
bags and bags and bags, and I personally pulled 2 old tires back up to the parking area.
I mean,
so-
yeah, the river definitely does bring some stuff to the coast. That's true. But yeah, that's pretty much it. As usual, if you're interested in helping us plan the events, let me know, and that's all I got.
Anything on publications? I
Uh,
don't see Vinny here, so I can look at you. So no.
Nothing on publications.
All right. Gearmeister.
Yes. Nobody's really checking out gear right now for some reason. There's not a lot of demand for official stuff in the summer. Neil's basically our last checkout for some time now. Yeah.
Take everything you got.
That's all good. But that's basically it. I haven't tracked down one PLA, but aside from that, everything is accounted for.
Okay.
Aside from that, I did some research on potential new locations for Gear Locker.
Mhm.
I was looking at some public storage locations that were sort of near 495 and 66 because I figured it'd be a convenient place for both Virginia people and Maryland people. Looks like prices for that would be somewhere between $60 a month for like a 5x5 room and about $100 a month for a 5x10 room.
Okay.
So I think I'll have a discussion about that sometime.
What have we got now, like 5x3 or something?
Yeah, something to that
If
effect.
it's even that big?
I think it's, something like that.
Okay.
I mean, whatever we do would be an improvement. I think the
Yeah.
5x10 would be a lot easier, especially if we plan on doing other large things like the Hulk in there.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But
How big is the pulp exactly?
I've never actually seen it in person. But I imagine
It's probably Andy's place.
Andy does it.
It's Andy's, yeah, it's at Andy's house.
I mean, in worst case, Andy can
It's
spot
in
holding on.
storage.
Yeah, right.
But that's the only piece of gear I was really concerned about fitting in the 5x5. I think it would definitely fit in the 5x10.
Okay.
Which, would be somewhere between $90 and $100 a month, depending on which one we pick.
Right.
It seems a little steep to me too.
Does, but, yeah, okay.
So,
All right, training Marty, I don't see Marty. I think we had a pretty good top rope anchor seminar. Anybody go to it? I saw the report saying it was, so Dave, was it good? What did you do?
No one died.
Did we train a bunch of people?
Yeah, they actually ran 2 sessions, I think.
Okay.
So actually, did you run the second one or?
Oh, we're not talking about the clinic, right? You're talking about we're talking about,
I'm talking about the all-day one, not
The
the,
all-day
not the
Oh, I
mini
just
clinic.
kind of popped in.
yeah, there are 2 sessions and there are a ton of people. Like Jason, you were at it, right?
Okay,
That is-
How long has that on top rope anchor?
all right.
Yeah, cleared out the wait list and got, I think, close to 40 people or something, so.
Wow. And do we feel good about it? Do we feel good about climbing on anchors that were built there, or nobody's going to die?
Felt good.
All right, at least Carter Rock level things.
Yeah, I mean, they're, hopefully you can take them anywhere.
Okay.
Just car specific.
Set up a couple with the newfound skills and didn't die.
All right. Hey.
That's good, you're still here to tell the tale.
We're pretty good at that.
Uh-huh.
All the people who did it, I guess.
Okay.
There's a new climber day coming up, isn't it?
Oh, I'm sorry, I left that one off.
Next
Yes,
weekend.
New Climber Day is like the 20th, isn't it?
How many people sign up?
I will check that.
You need to volunteer to come.
I think that volunteer.
We have a lot of
We have
volunteers.
a lot of volunteers. We don't have a lot of people sign up, actually.
Don't people just show up usually though?
I know.
7 people signed up. Yeah, what's happening?
Well, last year, a lot of people signed up.
7 people signed up to attend or to run it.
That's the
Or we-
difference. In this-
Because we've been getting, last year it was like a lot of people showed up.
Yeah, last 2 years was a lot of people
7
showing up.
people to attend. It's also on Meetup, so we'll see. if
Wow,
anyone signed up.
that's pretty low.
Yeah.
I'm a little shocked, but okay.
Maybe because we did not advertise it enough. We didn't
Yeah,
put it out.
I thought the number we had before was actually a little overwhelming. I wouldn't mind if it was a little less than we had
But
before.
not that little. That's what we said.
Yeah. I mean, when we ran through every piece of gear we had in the club last
Yeah.
time, and then we're swapping it. That was really kind of
Just
much.
everybody become professional now.
Okay, sorry, I missed that one entirely. So I don't think we have any other training events currently scheduled. other than this Wednesday clinics?
Great.
All right, so I'll talk to Marty. We probably ought to do some. We sometimes do some during the summer when it starts to be hot enough to be better for practicing stuff than climbing on the nasty Carter Rock rocks. It is in the summer. Women's events, Girls in the Gumps, and I saw some discussion about some other events. Do we have anything scheduled?
Yeah,
or?
I mean, Olivia was thinking about doing crack clinic in New River Gorge. So she's thinking either June 11th or June 17th. So I'm still waiting to hear from her. So just be on the lookout. And she wants to do one clinic each month. So either overhang clinic or crack clinic. I don't know. So still waiting for her to get back to us.
All right.
Yeah, I think I don't know exactly, but she is definitely planning on doing the women's clinic still the week after her show.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have anything official on the calendar, but that's
moving.
fine. Okay, good. The near term one, there's just, and I don't know if she's planning to go or something goes, I said, there is clearly a shortage of rope leaders for the Girls in the Gumps event, given the current level of sign up. So either we're going to need to find some, or there's going to be a lot of processing going on.
I thought it was gonna be a bouldering event. That's what happened 2 years ago,
Okay.
is it just turned to a bouldering.
It may turn out to be a bouldering event.
People need to know that it's gonna be a
Yeah.
bouldering.
Okay.
Because if you don't love bouldering, then
Yeah, we've got one other signed up for Girls in the Gumps that says she can lead
Okay.
on evening.
Who's that?
Krista Nickerson.
Okay. All right. I was going to say, since I saw Dave and Mike here, I was going to query about whether about advanced planning for Dax House. Could we still have the issue of the money?
Yeah.
All
I
right.
sent him an email, so.
Okay.
what's the issue?
Well, they didn't, we were owed money which has not been returned.
The deposit?
Yes.
Mhm.
That place was spick and span when we left.
Apparently last year they gave the deposit back just in time for us to pay the deposit.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's convenient. So that's
Yes.
kind of-
Yeah, it was in good shape.
Just kind of, it's sort of like, you don't need the money back, just roll it over
Yes,
for next
roll it
year.
over.
Apparently, it's their new attitude.
Oh,
but-
okay, so it's just like, yeah, we like you, just come, we just.
Anyway, so actually, let me throw out just see what kind of level of interest there is. The suggestion was made that next year, as I think everybody knows, we've had a lot of trouble scheduling new ice climber weekend because there's nowhere to go that's reliable. And we can try to do it local, but the odds of getting ice that's suitable for climbing on with new ice climbers local is apparently worse than our being able to schedule new followers weekend in the month of April and May now. And that entire years might go by when we can't have a new ice climber weekend. One suggestion that was made was that since pretty much the only reliable ice we got is North Conway or the Dax, that when we look for a Dax house, we actually grab it on 2 contiguous weekends. And if we grab it on 2 contiguous weekends, we might also get the days in between at maybe for nothing.
But Neil will be there the whole time.
Excuse me?
No.
And yes, Neil and some other people will simply go for the entire time, which is okay, really, it's fine. And then we run a Dax House event one weekend and a new ice climber weekend the other weekend, and we just string the weekends together with a house, and then maybe we'll get a better deal if we grab a longer period, which I think is kind of an interesting idea. I see a lot of head nodding, so we can try it out. Okay, good.
I think it costs, I want to say the 2 weekend days for new ice climbers at the motel was the same as the house,
Yeah,
essentially.
that's what I kind of thought.
So,
We might as well do
there's
the
no
house.
breakfast.
I think we might as well do the house. Mm-hmm.
And whoever put the names up on the house for late arrivals, I have to say that was still the coolest thing ever, to come to a random large group house and find your room with your name on it. That was amazing.
Okay, so we will look into trying to find some place that will make us a deal for that. If we do this, should we do the DAX or should we go to North Conway? We'll go to North Conway already for Alpine Skills Weekend. Is there any reason to think DAX probably works better. I mean, Uray works better still. I don't think we're flying here.
Are they equidistant?
Hooray.
DAX. I think if you're driving, I think it's farther to go to North Conway.
A lot.
Quite a bit, yeah. North Conway, I think you pretty much have to fly.
Like Metro.
Okay.
Although there are some very cheap flights to North Conway, which I don't know if it's true of
Okay.
DAX.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little more reliable to drive the DAX because you're not in. I think you're on better highways most of the time versus getting up to North Conway, and you don't have to drive through New York City. I think DAX probably works better. Your rate works even better. And I think anybody have any other new business they'd like to bring up? Requests, ideas, thoughts?
Are we doing a big club trip this year? Like a big?
We have no plans because we have no leader.
It's a bit too late
So
now.
I think it's too late.
Unless we want
I'm
to do it.
looking into doing Joshua Tree next year in February.
We have that was the one new thing that was talked about at XCOM. We talked about trying to do something in Joshua Tree in the winter, which could be before the end of the calendar year. It could
Oh,
be
you wanna
November
do-
for. We could try Joshua Tree in November, December. I would guess November might be a possibility.
This new.
I'm looking for. I'm honestly, the thing is for that we need somebody to be the real focal point to start planning.
And what about Red Rocks? Is that just like a no?
Red Rock's too hot in it.
I was
November.
We were talking
It's
about
also a
November.
winter.
Okay,
It's a winter thing. I wouldn't do it in
Red
July.
Rocks has the advantage of being close to cheap motels.
There's some cheap motels not too far outside of Joshua Tree, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought we
It's
were
not
to do
very.
a big
Joshua
campground.
Tree is. You can stay in a hotel in Joshua Tree 29 Palms pretty cheap,
Yeah,
and the group sites
it's
are
a 20
quite
minute drive into
accessible.
the park.
And the group sites are good there, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
so let's see who wants to do Red Rock in November.
Or I do anything.
Are you volunteering? Are you volunteering to be the organizer, Carol?
I'll be the organizer.
All right, then
Awesome, so-
then we will begin planning. Okay, put it down. Carol is now the expedition organizer. And we will
Awesome.
plan for. And we will, and I think either Joshua Tree or Red Rocks. The advantage of Red Rocks also is that the flights are cheap.
Super cheap.
And whereas you go to Joshua Tree, you kind of have to haul. It's a drive after you fly. But
Where do you fly into best?
for Joshua Tree,
Probably LA.
for Joshua Tree, probably LA.
Probably where?
LA. It's probably it'd be faster to fly into Orange County. It'd be less of a drive, but it's typically much more expensive to fly to Orange County than LA.
Yeah, in November too. I don't know. It's probably going to be more expensive.
Vegas
It's
is
always more
so
expensive typically to
cheap.
fly into Orange County. than
It's
LA.
just because November is Thanksgiving, so
Yeah.
already it's going to be expensive.
Yeah,
Unless we go the week after Thanksgiving when nobody wants to travel again.
That's
so
true.
soon.
Sounds like something for the leader to organize and figure out.
Do we have a date for this? Do you guys
No.
want to just, oh,
No,
so that's up to me?
It's-
So
it's
I just
open.
get to decide, let's see it looks good for me.
exercise your authoritarian rule. So I think actually it would be worthwhile doing a skeleton plan for both,
Both.
and then having a discussion at
Thank you.
XCOM and a meeting about which one works better.
All right.
Obviously, I mean, I think both are roughly equal in sort of accessibility of climbing. Joshua Tree is probably a little better for beginners because there's a lot of single pitch cragging at Joshua Tree. It's a little bit more difficult at Red Rocks, but on the other hand, you can climb multi-pitch at Red Rocks that you really can't do at Joshua Tree. Other questions, new business? Then we are adjourned.
Okay.
Is the recommendation to go for pizza next door?
Is it pizza next door?
I don't know.
No, I just
It's
know
Vietnamese.
there's a lot of restaurants
Yeah.
here.
There's Vietnamese right next door.
Oh, okay. Is it good?
There's Ethiopian.
Yes.
We'll get food.
It's like an hour and a half up to get to New York City for New Jackson.
Okay, good. Yeah, no. I had a feeling you may have known about it. Yeah. But I was like, it seems like yeah, cool. Are you going to the happy hour tomorrow? No, I think the girlfriend area is something. Oh, okay. Yeah. We're doing the happy hour. Oh no, I just took it off. The other one came off. Yeah.